Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Real IAI Podcast. I'm your host, Jan Lemay, and thanks for joining us. Real quick, I have some announcements about the upcoming IAI conference in August. The dates are August 11th through the 17th, and it's in Reno, Nevada. It's a great destination. Early registration ends on July 31st, so be sure you register before then. You want to make sure that you check out the agenda on the website. The whole agenda is posted, and it's an amazing agenda. It's full of great lectures and workshops, so see what the conference has to offer this year. You'll be really impressed. Speaking of workshops, those are filling up fast as well, so make sure you check out the workshops you want to sign up for and get signed up as quickly as possible. And as of the recording of this podcast on May 5th, there's still time to sign up to present a poster and still time to sign up for the photo contest. And those details are on the main page of the IAI website. Now let's bring in my guest host for this episode. Her name is Michelle Podhirny, and she's the president of the Rocky Mountain Division of the IAI. Michelle, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jan.
Michelle, you know I've been a member of the Rocky Mountain Division for a while now, and I try to go to as many of your conferences as I can. And in recent years, I have noticed a lot of growth in your conference. You're getting more and more attendees. You're getting a greater educational program. You're getting more sponsorship and support from vendors for your conference. And it's just been a great experience to see that develop and grow over the past few years. So my question is, what is in the water in the Rocky Mountains? How do you explain all of that growth?
I wish there was an easy answer for that. Unfortunately, I don't know what the right answer is. But some of the things I think that have gone into that started with our conference last year. It was the first year that we were able to provide a full schedule of IAI approved workshops towards certification. And we also were extremely lucky to have Mingo, the IAI president, for those who don't know, attend our conference. And he was gracious enough to say a lot of good things about our conference to the rest of the IAI community. And I think just that word of mouth really helped get our name out there for people to realize that we were a division and that we're trying to grow.
So when you say that your workshops and your lectures at your conference are approved for certification, so members who attend your conference are getting credit for their certification or recertification?
Yes.
And that's a huge benefit. That's a great idea. Yeah. You're also doing webinars for your membership now also?
Yes, we actually are a 3-state division. We encompass Colorado, Wyoming, and New Mexico. And we realized that those members from Wyoming and New Mexico weren't being able to be included in as many of the things because they are a lot farther away geographically. So they have to pay a lot more money to be at those things in person. So we have a new committee this year that's focused solely on trying to find ways to make membership more beneficial. And one of the things that they identified was including those out-of-state people. And so we are providing a free webinar series to all of our members. We started with a webinar that was mostly geared towards students to build a CV. We did have several professionals attended as well. And we have another webinar that's scheduled for about a week from now that's going to be on decomposition. So we're trying to provide these free online classes that people can take that aren't able to necessarily come to those in person.
And that's just a benefit for your members, right?
Correct.
Just another benefit of being a member of the Rocky Mountain Division. That's awesome. Speaking of your conference, it's coming up in September. It's the 11th through the 13th of September. What can attendees look forward to?
This year it's going to be in beautiful Glenwood Springs. That is a gorgeous little valley in the mountains. It has natural hot springs there as well as hot springs pools. So they're going to have that great vacation feel. But also we have several out-of-state speakers coming from other divisions this year. We do a survey every year after our conferences, and one thing that a lot of our members said is they want to hear from the people outside of our division, so it's not the same speakers over and over again. And we're so excited to be able to offer so many great speakers this year. And again, we're also having several workshops that will be able to count towards certification as well.
Oh, that's cool. And Glenwood Springs is an amazing destination. So if people want to make a mini vacation out of it, it's a really great place. The hot springs are amazing. There's lots to do in the area. Hanging Lake is a beautiful little hike, just like a mile-long hike and a beautiful destination. Aspen isn't far from there. And there's lots to do in Aspen. Maroon Bells is maybe the most photographed place in Colorado. That's right there. Palisade is a fun little town with wineries and vineyards. And so if grapes are your jam, get it? See what I did there?
It's definitely a vacation destination this year.
Yeah, for sure. See, that's when I say things like that, that's when people turn off the podcast. I should just not do that. Well, we have a guest waiting for us in the green room. Should we bring her in?
Absolutely.
She's been patiently back there in the green room eating M&Ms and sipping on mimosas. So our guest is Alice White. Alice is the new editor of the Journal of Forensic Identification. Alice, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Here it is, your first edition of the JFI, if anybody can see it. So how is that new process going for you being the editor of the JFI?
Oh boy, it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
So you know how people go through the experience where you're on the bench doing casework and then suddenly you get promoted to manager. And so no matter how good you are at doing casework, you have to learn how to be a manager. Well, certainly I've done a lot of things in my career, teaching and everything else, but I have to learn how to be the editor. So I'm going through all of that. We'll call it professional growth right now.
That's a good way to put it.
Where I find out, the bits and pieces. It is definitely, it's been a long time since I've been put in a position where I felt like, wow, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I mean, I do, but it's that sense of something new where you get used to doing the same thing, teaching, that's my jam. And now instead of decomposition, I'm all about composition. So I have to figure out, those roles and timing and, schedules and deadlines and, managing different situations that I haven't done ever before. So I really do love it. I'm still definitely getting used to it. But it is definitely a labor of love and I do enjoy it. It's growth, growth. I always say in classes, I make so many people uncomfortable in my training classes and I tell them, learning happens at the edge of discomfort. And I truly believe that. And right now I'm learning a lot and it's been great.
It'll get more comfortable as it goes along, I'm sure.
Yes, of course.
As you're learning, you talked about growth. As the new editor, are there things that you're planning to change or things that you want to change about the JFI?
Right now, I'm really focused on just how it's being done. So I'm sort of in the learning phase of what we're doing now. In talking to other editors of other journals, there's this whole other world that I don't know about. So I have to really sort of slowly explore the lay of the land and see just what the other possibilities are, because again, this is all very new to me. And also take into consideration, what does the board for the II, like what does the II want to do with it? So my whole thing is if the II wants to potentially explore some changes, first we have to kind of see what's out there and what those possibilities are. I can do that sort of legwork and then we can decide together, what those next stages are. So I'm so just trying to figure out what this feels like and how it's been done so I can carry on Alan McRoberts' legacy to the best of my ability for now. And as that becomes more comfortable, then I think I'll have enough headspace to think like, oh, what else is out there? And if the II has ideas on what they want to do for the journal, then I can kind of get a better idea of what's available to help implement those ideas. So definitely it's just getting used to the water phase right now.
Yeah, that definitely probably will take some time.
Yeah.
Yes.
As somebody who really likes research and wants to be published, I'm actually a little intimidated by the process. Can you kind of go over the process for somebody who's never submitted before?
Probably the most challenging part is just learning the software to get everything uploaded. So there's a lot of organization that you have to do on the front end. The II website, and there has guidelines established that you can actually pull right from the II.org, yes, website in order to actually look at the requirements. And people can always reach out and email me and ask. But there's certain types of documents, like things that we need separated out and uploaded. So sometimes it's a new software program and you have to know what buttons to click and what format things need to be in. Otherwise, it's just the writing portion of it. And so the the guidelines actually have the sections that need to be incorporated in it. And what I've always done is I always go back and look at other articles. So if there's a particular journal that you want to submit to, like the JFI, go back and look for similar articles that are like in the same vein that you would like to publish. And those clearly can serve as a really good roadmap and a model for you to follow in order to get there. I find those tremendously helpful.
That's a great idea.
What are some of the benefits of being published?
For myself, just speaking from my own experiences, when I first started, I started in Leighton Prince in 97. I'm really dating myself now. And I published my first paper in the JFI in 99. So I was just 2 years in, and it was a small research project. And I just basically didn't stop after that. But that small research project turned into my very first conference and giving a lecture, which then turned into other conferences, which turned into more lectures and more research. And it really just plugs you into the community in a different way. And it's a resume builder. I mean, not just for finding another job, but for court, to be able to go in and talk about your publications. And so I think it just strengthens, and it's a learning process. So, when you publish, you go through the editorial process. People will point out strengths and weaknesses of the research that you've done. And that ultimately helps you grow as a researcher as well. Through the editing process, you grow as a writer. So, you can't expect that when you turn something in, it's going to be perfect and you're not going to get feedback on it that needs improvement, but you also become a better researcher and better writer along the way. And I think it just continues your professional development and puts you in contact with more people within the community to serve as resources for you.
And I would add,
sounds like,
go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, I was just going to say, it sounds like a really great thing for students and newer examiners and newer people in the field to really start looking at submitting some research there.
I think it's an amazing opportunity, especially when people start early in their career, because odds are, for my own selfish purposes as the editor, when people start that process early, it often becomes like an itch you got to keep scratching. So then you do more research and you submit more publications. And then the next thing you know, after 10 years, you have a body of work that has contributed to the evolution of the discipline. And sometimes it can be the smallest thing. Like my first distortion paper, which was just a pilot study looking at distortion, took off in directions I could have never even fathomed. So you just don't even know where those things will take you down the road. And it can be just a small thing that seems so minor when you're doing it. And then to find out it really made a difference. And that, from a professional, personal standpoint, is so gratifying. I wouldn't have traded that for the world.
Yeah, and I agree with all the things you said. When I first got published, it spun off a bunch of other things that I wanted to do, and it looked great on my CV, gave me more confidence in court, but it gave me a lot more self-confidence. I'm not just a poser here, I can actually do this, and to be able to get published and get reinforcement from peers, it really was a confidence builder for me early on in my career. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait for your next submission.
No pressure. No pressure. And you mentioned your predecessor, Alan McRoberts, and I'm going to date myself too. I've got copies of the JFIs on my bookshelf at home dating back to the early 90s. And I was flipping through there looking to see when Alan took over as editor, and it was early 2000s. So he was editor for over 20 years. And I know his wife, Debbie, was a big contributor. She helped out a lot as assistant editor. What can you say about Alan? I think you know Alan pretty well. So you taking over, what does he leave behind? What is his legacy as JFI editor?
So I met Alan. Let me go back here, 97. I met Alan very early in my career because I remember submitting my paper to him, mine and Casey's paper, back in 2002. So his first journal was the first edition of 2002. And that's when Casey and I submitted our paper together on the biology. And at that time, it was the longest published article in the JFI. And Alan had just taken over. Yeah. And Alan had just taken over. But I'd already known Alan because he was in California, and being I was in Alaska at the time. I'd already intersected with him. So he took over as editor of the JFI in 2002. I was on SWIGFAST in 2001. So I'd already met Alan, and I think I may have met him at some California conferences. So Alan was deeply involved in the fingerprint community. And Alan was the type of person who didn't want to be, when he gets awards, he's so embarrassed. Like, he just doesn't want to be out as the public face of anything. But he had such passion for what we do, and he wanted to be involved. And I think that he was one of those people that in the background quietly contributed to, so much in our discipline. But nowadays, most people wouldn't necessarily know his face. Because, he just wasn't someone who wanted to be in front of the crowd. But he was the chairperson of SWIGFAST. So SWIGFAST, the Scientific Working Group for Friction Ridge Analysis, Study, and Technology, I started in SWIGFAST in 2001, and I think Alan was already the chairperson of our group. And back then, so this was SWIGFAST was the predecessor to OSAC, obviously. And back then, Alan led our group. He was at the forefront of it. And, he was responsible for publishing all of those guidelines that we did early on in the Journal of Forensic Identification, for managing all the public comment coming back, for keeping the group on task, getting things done. And, he took over as editor of the JFI. He was very influential in my career because he was a constant support for so many people that were involved in research and publishing. And, his handprint is on many of us, in the career. But it was always from like many people in our discipline, contributing without necessarily being the face of the discipline. So he's one of the legacies that we have, his DNA is in all of us as we pass along through this journey, because he influenced so many of us. And for my group, he was one of those mentors that people like me and, Glenn Langenberg and, Heidi Elders, like that whole, cadre of people coming in the, 90s and 2000s, was always such a positive force for us, and encouraging us to be the face of the discipline, while he worked quietly behind the scenes and took care of so much stuff, so many things in our field. I love Alan to death. Him and Debbie, great human beings.
Yeah, he was one of the giants in the field, but you're right. Most people wouldn't know him if they ran into him on the street.
Yes. Involved in so many things.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me. Congratulations, Alice, on your new role as JFI editor, and I wish you a lot of success there. Michelle, if I could say one thing about the Rocky Mountain Division and all of that growth, all of that development that's taking place there, I think it's because of you and the leaders that you're working with in the division, and all the energy and the innovation that you're putting into the division. And you set a great example for all the other divisions and what they can accomplish with their membership. So congratulations to you and all the success. Good luck and keep it up. Thanks both for joining me. And I'm going to wrap it up. That's it for this episode of the Real IAI Podcast. Thanks to our guest, JFI editor Alice White. Thanks also to Michelle Podhirny, president of the Rocky Mountain Division. On the next episode of the podcast, our guest is going to be the chair of the Science and Practice Committee, Leslie Hammer. If you have questions about the Science and Practice Committee that you want to ask, you can send those in to the Real IAI Podcast at theiai.org, and we'll ask those questions on the podcast. If you're a vendor and you'd like to sponsor an episode of the podcast, you can also write to the Real IAI Podcast at theiai.org, and we'll let you know how we can help you promote your products and services on the podcast. Our producer extraordinaire is Steve Yoder. I'm Jan Lemay. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, take care of each other. Thanks.